Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. It's Elsabe from Bernina Edenvale in Surfer Design, South Africa. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that made comments on our first sewing techniques video. It was actually so nice reading all your comments, and I just wanted to say I really appreciate it. It almost encourages me to think of more things that we can do. So I'm enjoying just the process of thinking, what am I going to do next with you on the sewing techniques? But I decided let's go slow, and one thing that I wanted to do today was actually just go through dots with you. Dots, for me, I see dots as something that's so necessary to be so tidy when we work, not tidy, but to have a nice finish. And with me doing our classes in the shop, and also when I help people with fitting their slopers as well, so many times I see the dots are sewn wrong. So I thought I'm just going to show you my technique of how I do my dots so that I get a perfect fit, or not a perfect fit, but a perfect finish when I've pressed the dot, so that it's really a smooth transition where I've sewn in my dots. So let's get to our sewing the dots. I want you to do two. I'm going to do two exercises with you. There's really no rule for me. Sometimes I start the dot at the very narrow point. Sometimes I start at the edge where it's wider. It depends a lot of times what fabric I'm working with. So I'm going to do both examples for you, and I'm going to encourage you to also do both and put it in your file and just see which one you prefer. As I said, I use both of those techniques. It really depends on what fabric I'm working with. So I'm just going to go to my sewing machine and I'll show you how to sew the dots. Okay, I've done a sample to show you guys what I see a lot of. I battle because I've got a certain way of working mine, but I've tried to sew it wrong. But what happens if it's over the bust area? Can you see if I do that? It almost makes that funny little bump on there, and then I see this, and sometimes it's even worse than that we see happening. We don't want that happening. It's really got to be a smooth transition. So no matter how I'm going to press this or whatever I'm going to do, or even if it's pulling over my bust, it will always have that funny little point over there. What we want is that if you look at this, it's got to be a smooth transition. Can you see as I've gone off, and I'm even pulling it flat, it's totally flat where the rounding of the curve is that I need. So this is what we want in a bust. This is in a dot. This is a perfect dot that we've got. And as I said, especially on our bust area where we do our bust dots, we want that smooth transition. I really don't want this, as I said, that little bump happening, because no matter what we do, it's always going to just not look as neat and tidy. Also, what you'll notice, I'm showing it to you on my hand, because if we do press our dots as well, I need something where that curve, where the rounding would be of the body, I need to press it this way so that everything presses on the curve. If I press it flat, then I can stretch the fabric on this area as well, and that can also give me a dot that doesn't look as neat and tidy. So let's go to sewing. I'm going to just put my fabrics here so you can see when I'm going to sew. Now, I'm someone that will always mark my dots. You can mark it with your let's say with chalk. If you've got carbon, the dressmaker's carbon paper and a tracing wheel, you can also do it with that. That's the one way. If I didn't draw the lines, I would use, I'm going to show you another technique as well, and I'll do it on this part. This one will start from the tip. I do have another way where I will use my thread. I've put pink in to show you. That will be my guide. So I'm going to show you both of those. And let's just start then. So let's imagine we're going to start, this is our dot running there. Like I mentioned, depending on my fabric, sometimes I will start at the point and I will come out. Other times what I will do, and that is really dependent on my fabric, I will start from the wider end of the dot and go down. So, okay, let's do this one first. And I'm going to show you, if you pin your dots as well, what I like to do with pinning my dots, because you have to be accurate here so that you remove the whole volume. With our Surfer designs, we use we've got a dot template for our bust dot. So we make the dot according to your cup size. So the bigger the cup size, the bigger the dot will be, because we need to remove more volume than on the side. So what I do to make sure I pin accurately is I put my pins in from, can you see, from my line to my line. I'm going to put another one. Let's just go another one. So I tend to do this, and if it's a really long dot, I'll do a couple of these, and then I'm going to take it this way to show you, and I just pull and I pull and I pull my fabric in. There we go. Can you see? So now I know that I've got, let me just get it this way. Sorry, I'm just going to turn it this way. So now I know that everything will be lining up, and you'll see I always check so that I've still got it right. I actually just put my pins on the wrong side. So there we go. So I'm just going to sew this dot for us. So I'm going to start on the edge, or on the widest part. Okay. On this part you can reverse stitch. When I get there, I'm someone that still tend to tie it off. You can also go to a shorter stitch length at the tip to make the stitch shorter so it doesn't unravel as quickly. Some people will go back into this area and do a couple more stitches. I'm going to just tie it off now, so I'm going to show you that. So let's start sewing. So I will always do my reverse stitch when I'm going to start. And I'm just using this line that I've drawn as my guide. I just want to put my fabric, sorry, my hand is in the way there, but I just want to get it so it's lying right. So what I do, if I come to the edge, I'm sewing on there. I don't just go off the tip, because that is where the problem happens, where we get that bubble. So you can't really see it here, but I'm going to try and show you the sample afterwards. I do right on the edge, and then I do next to my fabric another stitch as well, so that I don't just go off the fabric. If we tend to just go off the fabric, and I'm going to show you, I've done it in a pink. But can you see, if I just went off there, it won't be as neat. I'm trying to show you there. So I would go to the tip, and then next to my fabric on this edge, I'm just going to get a pin. You can't really see it nicely on the video, but on this edge, I will do 1-2 stitches, and then I will finish it off. So I almost try and do a straight stitch, or let's say it's really on the edge of my fabric for about 1 or 2 stitches, and then I'm just trying to get my edges to tie it, and then I'll do a stitch or 2 off my fabric right next to the fabric, and I know then that I've got a perfect stitch there. So let's have a look. So now if I open it up, and I'm going to just grab my tailor's hem again, can you see if I have to already open it, and if I have to go press it? Okay, if I'm going to press it now, it will actually smooth out. Can you see that area there? It is going to give me quite a nice smooth tip on there as well. Now the next one, I'm going to start, and I will sew it from the inside of the dart now. So what I tend to do, and I'm just going to do this to show you, I put my needle down. I wish you guys could see under my foot, but I put my needle down right next to my fabric. So it's not in the fabric, my fabric is pushing against my needle. And then I will start sewing. I'm going to try and keep my hand out of the way. So it's just catching on the edge, Can you see it's really just, I did 2 stitches. And I did 2 stitches, so it's literally 2 stitches on the edge. So that it's, when I open it up, it's going to be nice and even. And from there, and I'm just going to show you this now. What I sometimes do, I will grab one of my threads. My hands are in the way here, but I'm trying as best as I can to come on, but this thread doesn't want to work with me today. There we go. And then I take my thread, and I use my thread as my guide so that I sew straight. Can you see that? So I'm just going to keep my thread there, and wherever my thread is, that's the line that I'm sewing. Can you see my line there? And I'm sewing on that line. And that is my guide. So that is really another way that I do if I haven't marked it. But I would say 99% of the time I would have marked my line on my fabric. But if I don't do it, I still want to sew straight, and then I can just pull out that thread that I've sewn on. And now again, if you look, if I have to press this down, I would get a nice smooth dot over there. Can you see there's going to be no bubble or anything like that? And again, I would go smooth it on or press it on my tailor's hem. I'll make sure that when I lie it down, and if you want to, sometimes I will even, depending on the dot size, I might even put it like that, and I'll press it. so that I just get everything nice and flat. So that is the two ways that you can do your dot. You can do it from the inside or the outside, guys. There's, for me, I would say there's no rule. Some people just have their way of doing it, and that's what works for them. I work both ways. So whatever you feel more comfortable with, I want you to do a sample of both of them and make your notes. Again, we will put the page in for your file, for your reference file below our video. Just go and download it from there. So we will see you again in 2 weeks' time for our next sewing techniques video.